You sure you want to do this, Aloe?
Nope, but I'm gonna do it anyway.
You know she's a beloved character, right?
Yep.
Aloe, it was a joy and a pleasure working with you. Can I have your channel after you get run out of town? Joking! Just a joke. I go wherever you go, so lead away.
Alright folks, bring on the torches and pitchforks. It's about to get spicy. Hello everyone, my name's Aloubell, and after my previous not at all controversial video about the Little Mermaid, I figured I'd add some more fuel to the fire. This has honestly been on my mind on and off for so many years. I was scared to talk about it, but I'm just gonna say it. Yeah, I don't like Ariel from Disney's The Little Mermaid. And I don't mean the remake Ariel, I mean the OG Ariel from 1989. And probably by extension the remake too, but anyway. Don't get me wrong, I think Ariel is a very nice girl. I'm sure she'd be a pleasure to have as a friend given her curiosity, fun-seeking, take charge, and adventurous characteristics. So I don't mean that she's unlikable in that regard. What I mean to say is that I dislike her as a role model and as a character in a story. Which is funny, because when I was a small child, I loved Ariel. She was, without a doubt, my favorite Disney princess. There was no deep reason behind it, I just liked her. I enjoyed her movie, and Ariel herself has a pleasant design, and she's a mermaid. Being a mermaid just gave her extra brownie points. I even had custom-made Ariel wall ornaments hanging up in my room. It was a fun time. But as I got older and thought about her actions a bit more through a more mature lens, I saw some issues. My issues with her essentially break down to these. She's not that smart, she's selfish and ungrateful, and she doesn't learn anything. Before I get into these points further, let me just make it clear that I by no means think that Ariel wanted to be a human simply because of wanting to be with Eric. I know full well that she wanted to be quote-unquote part of that world before even knowing he existed, okay? Okay. Let's start with the easy point. She's not that smart. Ariel went along with some obviously sketchy eels to the obviously sketchy sea witch to sign the obviously sketchy contract that she didn't entirely read. Not only that, but she's basing her entire desire to be part of the human world, to be human, on Scuttle's reports. You know, Scuttle, the seagull who didn't know the name nor function of a fork? That Scuttle? Who knows what other details about humans he got wrong? Ariel isn't even a fan of humans, she's a fan of what Scuttle says humans are. She's a fan of the idea of humans / being a human, not actual humans.
But Aloe, Ariel also probably felt like an outcast in that she didn't belong with the other merpeople. She thought that humans would accept her and understand her, along with also thinking they were neat.
Ariel had absolutely no reason to think that humans would be chill with her. None. For all she knew, humans were jerks and would understand her even less than her friends and family did. Like I said, she likes the idea of being a human, but doesn't actually know what it's all about. For all she knows, being a human could absolutely suck. But she wouldn't know that because she's getting her information from a bird who makes humanity seem like it's all gumdrops and rainbows. All Ariel knows is that humans have legs, feet, and cool stuff. Wow, way to make a fully informed decision there, Ariel. 10 out of 10 logic.
But Aloe, for one, Ariel only went with Flotsam and Jetsam and went along with Ursula's deal because she was mad at her father and not thinking straight. And two, she's only 16. It's reasonable to expect a teenager to hop onto an idea without doing thorough research on it, or to only latch onto the parts that appeal to them the most. Besides, other than Scuttle, she didn't have other references to human lifestyles and such. Except through the gadgets and gizmos aplenty and stuff that she has in her grotto. For all the stuff that Scuttle didn't tell her, she had to come to conclusions on her own.
Okay, to your first point, yes, I acknowledge that Triton made her exceptionally mad and desperate when he went into her grotto and destroyed her stuff with no justification whatsoever. Ariel's anger was justified, and yes, people often say and do really stupid stuff when they're mad, considering what anger can do to a person's brain. But here's the thing, being angry doesn't justify making bad decisions. Oh yes, I did kick him, but it's just because I was angry. Oh yes, I did steal that thing, but it's just because I was angry. Oh yeah, I did cheat on him, but it's just because I was angry. Being a species of high intelligence that can make plans and decisions and choose to not act on our emotions, being angry is not a good excuse to make dumb choices. And don't give me the "Ariel's a mermaid and not a human" comment in response to that, because the merpeople are all written to have the same mental functioning as humans. And yes, Ariel is 16, and despite her own words of not being a child, she is, in fact, a child. And as a child, her reasoning skills are not all that developed. Making foolish decisions are things that children do, and even things that we want our main characters and such to do, because we want them to grow and to learn. But here's the problem. She didn't learn anything. But we'll discuss that later. Before I get on with my next point, if you're enjoying this video, then become a part of this world by hitting the like button and subscribe for more reviews, rants, and rewrites. Follow me on my socials in the description, and be sure to join our community Discord, The Bell Tower, link also in the description. If you're still watching at this point, put any sea creature emoji in the comments. Thank you! Point number 2. Ariel is selfish. This first example is more of her being irresponsible, but you could also interpret it as being selfish. Her going off on an adventure with Flounder when she should have been with her sisters, preparing for the concert at the beginning of the movie. I'm sure Ariel had every intention of getting back in time to perform, considering that she was legitimately distressed when she realized that she had missed the performance, but she prioritized her own wants instead of waiting until after her duties were met to do said wants, and ended up embarrassing her father and sisters. Again, I'm sure she just lost track of time, but still, it's a slight indication that she's a bit me-centered. The biggest example of her being selfish is her going off to become a human and live in the human world without notifying her family. Seeing that she was still a child, she was still under the care of her father, and he was still responsible for her, and yet, she went to do what she wanted anyway. Yes, I'll acknowledge that Ariel showed some guilt and regret before making the deal with Ursula that she'd never be able to see her family again, but even so, she went along with it. And yes, I'll also admit that Ursula manipulated her, but still. Never mind that her father and sisters would be worried sick about her and would likely search all 7 seas for her, at best thinking she's lost and at worst thinking she's dead. And let's not forget that she guilted Sebastian into keeping the secret of her becoming human. Sebastian, who has the trust of her father and who likes his job, is putting his job on the line for this girl who would make her family worry about her. He was 100% in the right to say that going to King Triton was the best idea after the deal was made. But no, Sebastian looked at her puppy dog pout and spouted some nonsense about how she'd be miserable for the rest of her life if she never got to stay human. What? I'm sorry, what? Again, let's go back to the idea that before this deal was made, Ariel knew next to nothing about humans, let alone being a human. And even being a human for 1 or 2 days does not give one the experience to say that this is what I'm meant to be, or this is what I'm meant to have, especially since you don't get the full human experience in such little time. It's okay to be a fan, it's okay to be fascinated, it's okay to want to know more. I am not discouraging curiosity or liking a thing, I'm discouraging jumping the gun. You can't be miserable or miss something you never had, or don't know fully about. Missing implies that you had it before and no longer do. Ariel might be missing out on being a human and having human experiences, but she's not missing it. Saying that she'd be miserable if she couldn't be human has the same energy as, if I can't get what I want, then I'll be forever sad. If I can't be a pop star, I'll be miserable forever. If I can't be a millionaire, I'll be miserable forever. If I can't have a cell phone, I'll be miserable forever. If I don't marry this one specific person, I'll be miserable forever. If I can't visit Japan, I'll be miserable forever. And so on and so forth. First of all, go outside and touch some grass. Trust me, there's more to life than just that one thing that you can't have. There's also much more to you than just that one thing. If you allow the lack of that one thing keeping you from feeling joy or contentment, then there are some underlying problems there. There are needs in life, the things necessary for living, And then there are wants, things that are totally unnecessary. If you don't get your wants, it is a bummer, I know, and you're allowed to be sad, but you'll bounce back, you'll survive, and you can move on to what might be an even better future than what you think is possible. Ariel would have been perfectly fine if she had to stay as a mermaid. She had a bit of a longing, but she was a fangirl. That's natural. She still had a pretty happy and eventful life under the sea. You know, aside from the oopsie her father made in destroying her cherished items. Yes, Triton needed to learn to loosen the reins on her and let her make her own decisions, but before that incident, we had no reason to believe that he was a terrible father. I mean, aside from the quote-unquote stay away from humans and human stuff thing, he seemed to give her quite a bit of freedom and independence. If the Little Mermaid TV series, prequel movie, and events leading up to Ariel meeting Eric are anything to go by, Ariel had a pretty good life overall, and she seemed content. The idea that she'd be miserable forever, I flat out reject that idea. And as someone who hates being guilted, I don't respect her guilting Sebastian like that. Anyway, Ariel was born as a mermaid, so it rubs me the wrong way that she'd want to change her species entirely instead of being grateful for how she was born. It screams not being grateful or appreciative of the life you have. I mean, it's okay to lightly joke about such a thing like, oh, the ponies in My Little Pony seem like they have such ideal lives. I wish I could be a pony too. But, you know, not actually want to be a pony. It's like that early SpongeBob episode where SpongeBob gets bored and fed up with his everyday life and decides that he wants to be a jellyfish instead. Of course, he didn't actually turn into a jellyfish like how Ariel turned human, but the point is that he learned to be grateful with what he had. He learned that he didn't know anything about being a jellyfish and that he wasn't cut out for it. Like, he literally was not biologically cut out for it. And that's okay. You are what you are, and you only know of what you are, so make the best of it. So for Ariel to be like, I don't want this, I want to be that, in this context just, like I said, rubs me the wrong way. It's not something surface level like wanting a new job or moving to a new country or getting a new haircut or wanting to climb the social ladder or marrying someone your family doesn't approve of. This is literally changing your species. And what's worse, she gave up her family, her voice, and her potential freedom for this. I just can't. Now, I wouldn't have as much of a problem with this if Ariel was the type of mermaid who could naturally turn human, such as the mermaids in the anime/manga Mermaid Melody, or like the mermaids in the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. Since this is naturally part of their biology, I'd be okay with her saying that she prefers being on land rather than sea. But since this isn't the kind of mermaid she is, I'm not okay with it. And yes, because of Triton's powers as shown in The Little Mermaid 1 and 2, he can easily turn Ariel back and forth from a mermaid to a human whenever she wants without issue. I don't know. It still feels icky to me. The entire situation feels icky. The deal with Ursula made it super icky, but the situation itself is just icky. I much prefer how Ariel's story ended in Kingdom Hearts 2. Spoilers for that game, I suppose. In Kingdom Hearts, Ariel ends up staying as a mermaid, and Eric is okay with her being a mermaid, and they pursue a relationship together. The pro of this is that she stays a mermaid and, presumably, learns to deal with her situation. And she still gets her man. The con of this is that this ending implies that she only wanted Eric the entire time, not humanity in itself, and was cool staying a mermaid as long as she had him, which contradicts the things she said in Part of Your World. Then again, in Kingdom Hearts lore, she doesn't sing Part of Your World until after she meets Eric, which does kind of muddy her motivation a bit. But then a hidden pro could be the pair getting creative in how she could explore the human world while still being a mermaid. I don't know. Kingdom Hearts did some wonky things with the Little Mermaid story, including making Ariel even dumber and more selfish than the movie by having her steal Triton's trident at least 2 times because of Ursula's schemes, and then deciding to trust Ursula not once, but twice. The second time was especially terrible because Ariel knew by that point that Ursula was evil. But at least in the end, Ariel didn't get to be human like she wanted, but still got the love of her life. She also had another motivation of humans and sea creatures getting along, so who knows, maybe she got to achieve that. And with Sora's help, with her as a summon, she was able to explore other worlds. So, you know, some good came out of it. Anyway, I got a bit sidetracked. Now let's talk about consequences and how Ariel didn't learn anything. So yes, there were negative consequences to Ariel making her deal with Ursula. Ursula cheated in the end, I know, shocker, but regardless, Ariel ended up turning back into a mermaid, which, according to the contract, made Ariel bound to Ursula forever. Triton, being the good dad he is, sacrificed his freedom for Ariel's, which was exactly what Ursula was hoping for. Triton was turned into a weak, powerless creature, and Ursula gained control over his trident and all the power over the seven seas, essentially dooming the world. Thanks, Ariel. And thus, I agree that bad things came from Ariel's recklessness, selfishness, and bad decision-making, as not only was her father essentially lost, but Eric almost died, and there's a high probability that many other creatures would have died or been enslaved because of her. Ariel does end up saying sorry to Triton, but let's examine what she's saying sorry about. Ariel is sorry that the bad thing happened to Triton, and I'm sure she's sorry that she almost got the world destroyed. But is she sorry that she made the specific decisions that led to those bad things? I don't think she is. Like, seriously, what did she learn? As far as I'm concerned, it basically went like this.
Dear Princess Celestia, I wanted to share my thoughts with you. Ahem. I didn't learn anything. I was right all along.
She didn't say, I'm sorry for being dumb, or I'm sorry for being selfish. It's just, I'm sorry this happened to you because of me. Yes, Ariel, this happened because of you, but will you share with the rest of the class how this happened because of you so that we can make sure that this doesn't happen again?
I didn't learn anything.
Yep, that's what I thought. Ariel instead got exactly what she wanted. She nearly got the world destroyed and she got what she wanted. She got her legs and she got her man. So empowering. The one who actually had a story arc here and developed was Triton, aka my favorite character in the movie. Triton hated humans because they led to his wife Athena being killed. Because of that, he wouldn't give humans or anything associated with them a chance. He was hard on Ariel and didn't understand her desire to learn about them or be part of their world. His hatred led to him being over-controlling and led to him destroying what was near and dear to his daughter's heart, almost causing their relationship to be unmendable. But he felt bad about what he did immediately after doing it, and being a father who loves his daughter, he was more than willing to give up his life for hers. He then saw that Eric was a chill dude who loved his daughter, leading him to realize that not all humans are bad. In the end, Triton and Ariel made up, and he learned to let go and let Ariel live her own life and to trust her admittedly very faulty judgments. The one who learned a lesson and developed was Triton this entire time. He's more admirable because he messed up, had a negative consequence, and grew wiser because of it. Triton was the secret main character the entire time. In all seriousness though, if you guys are familiar with the 1837 The Little Mermaid by Hans Christian Andersen, you know, the original story, then you know of the differences between Disney's version and said original story. There are some key differences in the original story that makes the main mermaid less infuriating. Also, let's establish this real quick. Ariel is the original character of Disney. The original Little Mermaid didn't have a name. She was simply the Little Mermaid. Anywho, for one, in the original story, the Little Mermaid wanted to be human because she found out that as a mermaid, once she dies, that's the end of her existence. Unlike humans, mermaids didn't have souls, and thus she couldn't go to heaven, and that terrified her. This is the biggest reason why she wanted to be human. Wanting to be with the prince was another reason, but she didn't act on the becoming human thing until she learned about the lack of eternal life thing. Unlike Ariel, who only wanted to be human because they're neat. The original Little Mermaid had a more justified reasoning as the stakes were a bit more urgent. Sure, it's still not great to want to change species, but you can at least sympathize with her desperation and fear. I understand why Disney changed this original motivation as it would be too controversial, but making the new motivation, because humans are cool, doesn't leave as big of an impact. Both the original Little Mermaid and Ariel eventually fell in love with a human prince, and eventually went to the Sea Witch to become human, and consciously and selfishly decided to not tell their loved ones. The original Little Mermaid, like Ariel, gave up her voice to be human, but she also gave up her comfort. It was a painful experience to have her fin become legs, and it was even more painful to walk, as each step was like her feet were being stabbed with knives, and that feeling never went away. Ariel felt no such discomfort. One thing to note about the original Little Mermaid was that despite how much pain she was constantly in, she was always kind to the people around her and wanted to make them smile and have a good time, never letting her pain take the joy from others' experience. The original Little Mermaid ended up not getting her man because the prince only saw her as a little sister to dote on and take care of rather than a lover. And much to her dismay, after saving the prince, another princess came along to see if he was alright, and the prince ended up thinking that that princess was the one who saved him, so he fell in love with her and not the mermaid. And since the mermaid couldn't tell him the truth, he went on to believing that and marrying that other woman. Ariel, much to Ursula's dismay, did manage to get Eric to fall in love with her, and despite all of the bad things that came about because of her poor decisions, she got to stay human and marry her prince. The original Little Mermaid, on the other hand, could not keep up her end of the deal with the witch and was doomed to die. Oh yeah, did I forget to mention that if she didn't marry the prince or get true love's kiss from him, she wouldn't turn back into a mermaid, she would just die? Or turn to sea foam, so essentially die, because that was the deal. Her sisters, who eventually found out about the deal between her and the Sea Witch, gave up their beloved hair to find a way to reverse the spell on the mermaid so that she could return to them and live the rest of her life as a mermaid. And mermaids in this tale live a very long time, like up to / sort of past 300 years. The catch was that the Little Mermaid would have to kill the prince with a magic dagger while he slept and have his blood spill over onto her feet, which would give her fins back. But in finally deciding to do something selfless, the Little Mermaid rejects killing him and throws the dagger away and throws herself over the edge of the boat, becoming sea foam. Or does she? No, she actually becomes a spiritual entity called the Daughter of the Air who, along with other daughters who, like her, desperately desired immortal souls and who were also selfless just like how she was and not killing the prince for selfish reasons, earned the opportunity to earn her way into heaven by performing 300 years of good deeds for humans. The original Little Mermaid immediately got some heavy consequences and didn't get her way by cutting corners. I'm not saying that the original story is perfect, because it's not, but I do prefer it over Disney's version. The stakes were more urgent and the consequences more real, in a sense. Like, there was no guarantee that the prince would fall in love with her. The mermaid put every ounce of hope of her literal survival in getting this guy to fall in love with her, and she even had more time to do so than Ariel. The only time limit was to get him to passionately kiss her before he married someone else, and then she'd be golden. And she couldn't do that. The confidence this mermaid had, she put all her eggs into one basket and paid the consequence for it. Actual physical pain, heartbreak, and loneliness. Sure, she got the opportunity to get into heaven in 3 centuries, but lost her ability to be with her family ever again. There's just a lot more going on there that I could appreciate. And I just can't say that for Disney's version. So yeah, that's why I don't like Ariel. She's a cool girl that I would definitely hang out with, but not one that I would look up to. But what do you guys think? Do you like Ariel? Why or why not? How do you feel about the original Little Mermaid story? Comment below and let's get this conversation started. And remember, I'm the artistic Aloubell, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like it and subscribe for more reviews, rants, and rewrites. But as for now, that's all there is. There isn't any more.